start to transition from solo entrepreneurship and everyone being a consultant to now we're coming together and we're creating a cooperative infrastructure where even if we are individual businesses, those businesses are more sustainable because we are sharing attorneys and accountants and back office support. So I've seen a few examples of people doing this, but yeah, I would love to see even more of that. And I think, society is just kind of naturally moving that direction as things become tighter financially.
Absolutely. Shanice, what are your thoughts?
Agree wholeheartedly with what Amber was saying. I know we've talked about, over programming versus under investing in people and ideas that are actually working and creating change. I think it would be great to see a shift from a lot of short-term grants to more long-term investment and change efforts. I think a lot of times to create the change and have the impact and the outcomes that are most needed in community, it takes a long time or it takes a lot longer than these very short, like grant cycles that we have to create the change that is truly needed. So I think that that's a huge missed opportunity. So moving away from these short, 1 year, 2 year grants and got to report out on all these things to more so 5 and 10 and even, longer than that, to be honest.
Okay. So, that would be great. And if you know who we can talk to make that happen, let me know. What does the next 10 years, 5 or 10 years, in community look like if we get it right in an ideal world? What does community development done right and of course change is incremental and things happen over time. It doesn't happen overnight. So what does it look like in the next 10 years if we get it right? Amber,
Um,
we're dreaming a little bit here.
I would love to see like every neighborhood have its own kind of like assembly and community, like its own community elected council of residents, that you know can come together to collectively make decisions that elevate certain priorities, that create a base to be able to advocate for public resources that our residents and our taxes make us entitled to. And yeah, so I would love to see neighborhoods really adopt a model that allows for like that level of intentional collective advocacy. And there are some neighborhoods that do that um, fairly effectively, but more sharing of those models and those strategies in neighborhoods where they may have like three associations and they all got different agendas. Um, really figuring out how to come together and have a collective voice that's not the same few people um, every time, but is more representative of the populace of people in a community. Um, I would love to see a participatory budget where residents of Baltimore City are able to, at least for a portion of resources, decide for themselves how they want those resources to be prioritized and spent. Um, I would love to see, like community safety take root to the extent that um, we don't need as large of police budgets and those resources can be redirected in the other types of programs and initiatives that communities care about. And for folks to really just see that it is possible for us to um, keep our own community safe and to bring in those who may be currently on the fringes or not as supported as they need to be, who may be more susceptible to houselessness or violence or harm. Like we have ways to really bring them in and support them as a community, that are more holistic and that are more sustainable and impactful long term and more successful in their outcomes so that people don't fall between the cracks of systems and, end up in situations where they are more susceptible to harm. Um, so yeah, I would love to see us um, really just all, collectively as a city, take hold of self governance and collective advocacy and organizing, for things that we care about as residents.
Okay. I love that. Shanice, what's your vision? What does success look like? What does the next 10 years look like if community development uh, is done right?
For me, I would say more care-centered models, more holistic models, more where there's a combination of civic engagement and economic mobility. I think Amber touched upon this some earlier when she was talking about like community-owned assets, right? Where the stores in the neighborhoods are actually run by people who, live in the neighborhoods. The markets that are in the neighborhoods are, owned. We actually have a fresh food market over at the Avenue, but like even the produce and the goods that we are selling come from, local farms, local artists, right? Where we are centering and showcasing the communities at all levels. Mhm.
So Shanice, I don't want you to think that I stole your ideas, but I'm literally working on what you just said. So stay tuned. It's literally in the works and it should roll out in April or May. So stay tuned.
Okay.
Um, so I mean I want the audience to get involved. So if you are here, still here, drop a one in the chat if you are currently in community development. Drop a one in the chat if you're currently working in community development. And I can't see the chat. So is there a way for me to be able to see the chat? I can only see our chat.
Okay, you should be able to see the chat now, I believe.
Has anybody responded yet? Because I can't see anything.
No. Also, if anyone wants to unmute themselves, they can raise their hand and then me or Nicole can either group unmute you. But yeah, if there's any
Well, let's
questions,
start with drop a one if you can even hear us, because I mean I'm not seeing any responses. So if you're listening and you are currently in community development, drop a one in the chat. Okay, so if nobody's responded, drop a one in the chat if you're looking to get involved in community development. Nobody. So somebody forced you to be here today. You're not in it and you don't want to get in it. So I have to ask. Um
We have something in the Q&A. So is the chat open?
I can't see
I saw
it.
on the Q&A. Thank you, Asian.
I think someone in Asia chat is disabled. Oh, let me double check.
Oh, so I don't know if people can actually chat, but I'm starting to see. Yep, Asia let us know the chat's disabled. So
I don't even know how you're seeing that, Amber. I can't. I'm still not seeing anything.
Q&A.
it's under the Q&A.
Okay, let's
Why
see.
is chat disabled? Let me double check. I'm not sure why that's happening.
Okay, so Asia, yeah,
Yep.
if you can disable the chat, that'd be great.
Is there a way to just make chat open?
Asia, I would love to hear what area of community development are you in, if you don't mind sharing.
Let me go ahead and unmute you, Asia. Sorry. And let me figure out how to get the chat
And
working.
Asia's in Los Angeles. Wow. Okay. That's amazing. Thank you for joining us. Is there a way to unmute her?
Yeah, I gave her access to talk.
Asia, would you mind sharing what area of community development are you in?
Hello, how are you? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I'm in Los Angeles, California. I'm in Cooperative Crenshaw. We're affiliated with Downtown Crenshaw, and they acquired $100 million land trust out here. I am a professional. I used to bake. I was a baker for probably about 15 years, pastry chef. And we are working on having an incubator, and we're basically in the community developing. Right now we're doing surveys, trying to ask the community what we need. We did have a big protest because for about 8 years we didn't have a grocery store. We were outbid, but there are still two or three black led grocery options where you can go to farmers market and only shop solely from our farmers. But we are focused on basically being an incubator for cooperatives, and we want to have several different ones, such as security, childcare, low income housing, apprenticeships, basically teaching kids how to bake, and also other things and other endeavors as well. But we're just starting up, but we should be up and running probably in like 2026, in the 2026, 27. But that is what we do out here in LA.
That is phenomenal. I love it. I love it. And thank you for calling in or for coming on the webinar today. Definitely we have folks in this market who are working on cooperatives, so I'm sure we can connect and figure out a way to cooperate. Is anybody else in the community development space and care to share like what area of community development you're in? So Asia, since you are open to talking, are there any questions that you have for the ladies on the webinar or for us in general that you'd want to ask?
No, I want to give you guys your flowers. Amber, I miss you. I'm just gonna tell you that, girl. Because I'm part of NABC, but she was with us. I miss you. You gotta come back to me, boo. No.
I gotta come visit
Okay.
you in Los Angeles. Yeah.
Yes, you gotta come visit me for real.
Yes.
Um, Most definitely. We're having an open house in July. I forgot what day Eve scheduled it, but if I get information, they want
Ooh,
to try and introduce Cooperation Crenshaw to the community, like do like a block party or something like that. I'm not sure. I got to talk to her and Asada, but I'm gonna send you the information when we get the full flyer for sure. And
yes, please.
this is just my passion. I met Amber on my journey, and she like positive in this area of what I'm doing. I'm just trying to do something that I want to be the change I want to see. And out
There
here
you
it's
go.
very individualistic, and there is a very big disconnect intergenerationally and in a lot of different areas. And to my kids, I sound like the crazy co-op lady right now. So everything I talk, I'm like, you guys have to do this. We're gonna be legacy. We're gonna be the first to do it in the torch, and we're not gonna let the flame go. And that's just my goal to show them that we come from greatness and excellence, and they deserve to be able to have a foot in that. And out here, they don't see that much. It's I want to be the reason why my babies know that we can make it, and we are resilient by not even by choice. It's embedded in us.
That's
And
right.
that's my goal to try and make people in my generation, my kids' generation see, even try and bridge that gap between elders, because out here these individualistics that migrated to California, they are, oh, I got my own. I ain't sharing. You get your own. And I want to change that dynamic because we are nothing without them and they are nothing without us. And I just want that to be a statement. If that go on my headstone, I would love that, being the change to try and make things right because I don't want to even say we're lost, but we need to regain and heal and know all the knowledge that we were meant to know so we can flourish. And that's my goal. That's why I'm in this business for sure.
Excellent. Thank you.
Hey,
Thank you for
hey,
sharing that.
Nicole.
Hey, Kiva.
This is Kiva. I can share. I was unmuted. So,
Okay,
first of
awesome.
all, I want to thank you and the panelists. It was very insightful to hear about your perspective in community development. I come from the financing side of community development, where I will support affordable housing developers that are, working to uh, put online multifamily housing or even for sale housing. So, for instance, there's a nonprofit that's helping to revitalize a neighborhood in Baltimore, one block at a time, right? And it's helping to just change the dynamics with these new or renovated townhomes, values in the neighboring homes of those homes. They have improved over time. So it's been really cool to see how the tool of financing can help with revitalizing a neighborhood. We also, as a bank, we would work with um, CDFI's, community development financial institutions, that will do more risky deals than, let's say, a bank would be able to. So I am not doing direct service that it looks like, oh, Shawnee's sister, that Shawnee's or Amber would be doing, but it's another side of community development that is essential. The investment, the capital that's needed to see these projects. I don't want to say come to life, but that are eventually completed. So yeah, I wanted to share
Absolutely.
that and thank you again.
No,
Who do you
thank you.
work?
Were you saying something, Amber?
I was asking Kiva, who does she work with?
So I was most recently with PNC Bank
Okay, so with their I guess like their like community development.
Development Group. Yes. Hmm.
Cool, cool. And it sounded
Um,
like I might have been talking about Revo Metro by when you said one block at a time. That's what it made me think about.
So it's the Poppleton neighborhood. I don't pronounce that correct. Poppleton
Poppleton.
neighborhood. Poppleton.
Poppleton.
The Poppleton neighborhood that this nonprofit does
Yeah,
the either new construction of the
yeah,
townhomes or renovating um,
Which nonprofit?
the
yeah. We won't call names because maybe privacy issues with the bank client. So, yeah,
If it's something
we'll
that they um funded publicly though, we may know who it is. I was just curious which community because
Poppleton. She
oh,
said
okay.
Poppleton.
Okay, so Poppleton, that could be a couple different
Right,
organizations that come to
right.
mind.
You're right.
Thank you for
So
sharing.
we'll, yeah. Thank you, Kiva. I see other people on here who I know. I don't want to call names, but I can. Does anybody else want to share your role in community development? And if you have any questions or anything to add to the conversation?
I think there's another question in the chat I just saw where someone was asking what kind of budget are you two working with? I'm assuming that question's aimed at Amber.
I think that question is probably for Amber and Shanice.
Yeah.
Mhm. Though Nicole could probably answer that depending upon what you're able to share.
So where's the question? I am not seeing these
It's
questions.
on the bottom. If you look, it says Q&A, like a little
Okay.
question box. So you click on that, it shows like all the questions.
Okay, what kind of budget are you two working with? Yeah, I think they're asking Shanice and Amber. I think they're
I'll
probably
speak to our youth budget. I won't speak to our organizational budget. So actually, this year with the change in administration, we lost like all of our youth funding. So we had to start from ground zero essentially. So we had to really pivot to grassroots partnerships and away from traditional funding streams. Our board has been serving as the primary, forum for mobilizing their networks and their peers to raise funds. So this year has been strictly focused on fundraising for us in the youth world over here.
Mhm. And Amber, I don't think you work specifically for an organization, so that'd be a broad question because you're more as a consultant right now,
Exactly.
correct?
So it's variable. It depends on the organization, um, and the type of work. But yeah, so
Yeah.
I don't have a set budget, um, for
I,
type of,
I,
yeah.
I will tell you, just as Shanice kind of mentioned, in the community development world, in the nonprofit world that I'm also a part of, like funding for programs and particularly like really grassroots programs or even innovative programs, it's limited and hard to come by and short term and typically funding programs and not enough for the people to do the programs. There are a lot of challenges in the funding world. So, like Amber was saying, and we have to think about other innovative strategies if we're even going to think about self-determination. So, Asia, I'm really excited to hear about what you all are trying to do, and that's some of the things that we're going to be trying to work on, that we are going to be working on and are working on in a model that we're getting ready to roll out to help people to have agency and ownership and participate in rebuilding communities and being a part of that and building that legacy. So absolutely. I know one person on here is a realtor, so she looks at development as in a nut from another lens. If the person wants to speak up, I won't call any names. If you want to talk about what you're seeing from the community development lens or in community as you're doing that work, we'd love to hear your perspective. And Stephen, I know you're listening in, but if you care to share, we'd love to hear your thoughts as well. When we have a smaller group, I'd love to have conversation. Any other questions, thoughts?
Well, since you invoked my name, I'm
That's
never
right.
one to fail to speak up.
Okay,
What
great.
I've been listening to, I've been around for a while, and my involvement with community wealth building is not just real estate and community development, but it's also grassroots organizing and arts, because we need all those to really make our communities strong, healthy, and much better places to be. Amber, I've been listening to what you're saying, and you're doing great work up in Baltimore. But the bottom line here is what you're all talking about is how do we combine our experience, our ownership of the community? How do we combine our ability to do our own thing without asking for the permission of the status quo? How do we work on that? How do we get capital? Because everyone thinks it's just about money. Of course, we need capital, but we need all these other things, including political leaders that will back us up and not their corporate donors. Sorry, I'm a little bit of a grassroots activist. Uh, so the whole idea here is how do you take your ideas, which I've been hearing for decades, literally, and how do we finally get the change to happen? And what I'm hearing today, this is how you do it from the community, especially with Black, brown women, rural women who should be leading this because you're living it here. And unfortunately, you guys probably have the toughest burden of living in communities that are absolutely forgotten until the white people begin to realize, hey, let's go in and gentrify these communities. So keep up what you're doing here. We're connecting dots. We're starting to get some interest from real capital, but it can't happen unless you guys really do this well. And by the way, the Network for Developing Conscious Communities, again, you guys have been doing it for quite some time. Ron is doing great work. The coalitions you're building, this is how we have to do it. And once we start doing it and then showing real results in our own communities, that's how I think we show people that it's worth investing in these communities. Don't give up on us. It's a lot of power, a lot of passion, and frankly, it's the most socially, uh, you know, morally imperative that we got out there. So keep up this work. Don't give up. You guys are doing it. And I'll just say one last thing, as someone who's been very involved with politics, despite all this craziness that's going on here, I think we're in a position now, if we get our act together and start and be prepared for when we come out through the other end, that's when the progressive era, the alternative approach to community wealth building era will finally kick in, and we'll be able to make some real progress. So keep chipping away, and it's really nice and encouraging to see this coming from a younger generation. I've been doing this for 40 years, still got more energy in me. And we
That's
all need to
good.
work together. So if you all need any help with the networks I have or anything else, please let me know. And Amber, I'm going to be calling you because there's some good stuff going on in Baltimore since we last talked. So in any case,
And I
thank
wish
Thank you. Thank you,
kudos to all
Stephen.
of
Go
you.
ahead.
Good work, man. I'm really proud to hear and see all this happening, despite the times.
Thank you. Go ahead, Amber. You were
I
going to
was
say.
well, hopefully for future webinars, the chat can be open so folks can share resources and things that they're working on because I wish that Stephen could drop in the chat. He's actually part of leading a community finance academy. So we talk about how to fund our work more sustainably. Through that academy, he's actually introducing people to models that allow communities to think about resourcing their work differently that aren't as reliant upon government funding. So, yeah, just wanted to kind of shout that out. And maybe you can verbally shout it out since you can't drop it in the chat. But that's just another resource that I think people should plug in with because you all are building out some programming there.
Yeah,
And
sorry.
Stephen, where are you located, Stephen?
I am located right on the edge of DC on the Maryland side. So DC and Baltimore, good cities, but we work nationally. Anywhere there's a disinvested community, which, as you know, unfortunately in America, that's we have plenty of.
Plenty of those. Yes.
We work nationally, so but DMV and Charm City are my personal favorites.
And what's the name of your organization?
Community Finance Academy is our nonprofit we created to help educate literally millions of activists who write checks to candidates, never expecting a return. We want to educate them on crowdfunding on a large scale. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we want to educate the impact investors, the foundations, and everyone who's got real money, but has no clue where and how, or advisors that have even set foot in the communities that we're all trying to improve for the whole common good. That's such a big disconnect. It's crazy. So again, the people who have the money that need to find a better conduit of how to invest their money in these communities, as well as the masses of people out there that realize that they take their $1,000 or $100 stuck in an IRA that's supporting the prison industrial complex and invest it collectively in the daycare center or the barbershop or whatever. That's how I have to do it. And I think most of the people on this call are the connectors, the ones that could actually convert these resources into real action. You know where the opportunities are. You know where the young entrepreneurs are, and so on, et cetera. So there's plenty of opportunities.
Well, this is the start of it. This is the genesis, and I mean, I think some great ideas came out of this conversation. So, Amber, I'm going to give you, some time to make your final comments, and Shanice, I'm going to allow you to make your final comments as well, and then, we'll probably call it a night for tonight and say thank you to everyone. But after you're finished, I'll say my closing remarks and then hand it back over to for you to close us out. Go ahead, Amber.
Um, I guess I just want to say like the importance of keeping the community at the center and core of community development. That the reason that we're doing this work is to build sustainable communities, not buildings, not businesses, not programs, but communities that can function and be sustainable and thrive beyond our immediate work. So I just want to stress, like, as you're thinking about community development, the most important outcome to measure, which may not be measurable via conventional terms, is the cohesion and connectedness that you are establishing amongst the community, the amount of collaborations that are being fostered through that community building. So, yeah, just encourage people to really remember that, at the core of all of this is the community that we are.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Shanice, what are your closing thoughts?
Would say share power, whether that's funding youth, inviting youth to decision-making tables, or rethinking who leads in your organization. Invest directly in community leadership and not just programs.
Excellent. Thank you. And I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to moderate this session. This was a great conversation that just opened up so much more for us to talk about. So this is just the start of what I think we want to build as a more robust ecosystem for women and for all that are in community development and economic development here in Baltimore to help our neighborhoods and our community and our residents to be empowered and for our communities to be places where families, where each and every person in the family can thrive. So this is the start and of our of building that more robust ecosystem. And I'm gonna volunteer to be a part of that, and I'm gonna be calling on each of you to join in the effort as we perhaps, Amber, build that chapter of WCCD or something like it here in Baltimore to bring that cooperative effort because this work, it's big work, it's a large work, it's complicated work, it's hard work, and we need all hands on deck to ensure that we can succeed and that we are indeed creating the legacy and being the change that we all want to see. And it takes all types. All facets to make it really matter and for it to be impactful. So again, thank you for having me. Please, just stay tuned to the work that Dominion Community Development is Corporation is doing. We are going to be rolling something out that kind of brings together a lot of the things that we talked about today. Thank you for Conscious Communities for having this conversation. And Amal, I'll pass it over to you to close out and give any final remarks and announcements that you have.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Nicole, first of all, for moderating this conversation, really carrying the conversation. Amber and Shanice, thank you so much for the entire panel, honestly. This is a really important topic, especially under the current political community development landscape. We really needed to have these conversations and continue to have these conversations. And I'm really glad that we're talking about next steps as well. And with that, we have our next webinar coming up on April 20th, and that's on the role of Black men in community development. And please feel free to register for that. Please, we have a bunch of other webinars coming up throughout May and June as well. We will be sharing marketing through on our email. If you are on our email list, you will receive it. And if you're registered for this webinar, you're definitely on our email list. I'll include the recording on the YouTube channel and also share the link with everyone who joined today as well. And with that, thank you so much, everybody. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye,
Good
everyone.
night.
Thanks for
Take care.
joining.